Today we are creating a whipped cocoa butter. This is a whipped cocoa butter because most of it is cocoa butter. Like, this formulation is created with the intention for it to be really moisturizing, hence why it is a winter body butter. So that is the reason why I combine the ingredients, how I combined it in this formula. And just a pro tip, if you want something to be really moisturizing and like long lasting, that's not too heavy, not too light, just a medium feel on the skin, definitely add cocoa butter to your whipped body butter and you won't regret it. This formulation calls for cocoa butter, shea butter, jojoba oil, vitamin E oil, colloidal oatmeal. Essential oils are optional, especially if you plan to use this on your face. Fragrance is also optional, especially if you plan to use this on your face. This is created as a full body butter. Let's begin by adding in our cocoa butter. We are adding in cocoa butter at 40%, which is 272 grams of the formulation. We are adding in cocoa butter first because it is a bit harder than the shea butter. So when I do put it to melt, I'd like it to be at the bottom so it can start melting before the shea butter. And then the heat from that can melt the shea butter, which will prevent it from overheating. So that's like my way of getting this done. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in our shea butter. We're adding in our shea butter at 20%. 20% of the formulation is 136 grams. We're adding in the shea butter to this formulation to give it a more creamy kind of lotiony texture and just to add to the softness of this. But the combination of these two butters together gives you a nice winter butter that lasts quite a bit on your skin and helps to give you that nice moisturization that you're looking for during the winter time. Next, we're going to go ahead and add our additives. We are starting with colloidal oatmeal. We are adding colloidal oatmeal at 2.27 grams, which is 2% of this formulation. Next, we're going to be adding in our vitamin E oil. We're adding in our vitamin E oil at 1%, which is 1.13 grams of the formulation. We're adding in the vitamin E oil for first of all the properties that vitamin E oil has, and for it to extend the shelf life of our oils that are inside this whipped body butter. Next, you want to go ahead and add in your essential oils. You can also add in your fragrance oils at this point as well, but those are optional. You don't have to add them. I don't add them, but you want to go ahead and add in your essential oils. We're adding in our essential oils at 1% of this formulation as well, and that is 1.13 grams of the formulation. Next, we're going to go ahead and mix it all together. You can use your stirring rod or your silver spoon that you use to weigh out your ingredients. Any one of those works, but you want to go ahead and stir everything together and get it all mixed together so you can put into your whipped body butter. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in our carrier oil. We are adding in our jojoba oil at 36%. 36% of this formulation is 244 grams. We are using jojoba oil because it's super moisturizing. It is the closest to the sebum on our skin. It is not too heavy and it is not too light, and it gets the job done. If you want something more moisturizing, you can definitely substitute this oil for an oil like avocado oil. I do have a whipped cocoa butter formula where I use avocado oil for like really dry skin. So if you want that type of formulation, I'll link it below or up at the top of this video so you can check that out. Next, we're going to go ahead and use our stirring rod. We're using our stirring rod to mix in the butters and the oil because we just added them all together. So we just want to stir everything up so it's all completely incorporated into the formulation before we go ahead and put it to cool down, because you know we have to put it in our freezer just to get it a little bit solid, so that way once we take it out we can whip it up. Once our formulation has cooled down to our desired temperature, we're going to go ahead and whip it up with our overhead mixer or our handheld mixer. We're going to pause in the middle of it when it reached to a nice, like not too thick but not too light, but a nice consistency. We're going to go ahead and pour in our additives to the formulation. We're doing this in the middle of it because I feel like it's easier to incorporate all the ingredients at that texture compared to when it's already thick. It is harder to ensure that it is spread evenly throughout the formulation. Now that we've whipped it, make sure, okay, so you see how I whip it and it's kind of thick, as you can see it in there. I don't like to whip my body butters until they get this thick. Now that texture, you know, if you were piping it into your jar, that's probably like the perfect texture for it. I also don't like when it gets too fluffy. The reason why I don't like when it gets too fluffy, because it's filled with air, and that's why sometimes you'll have a body butter that, you know, you were making 8 ounce, and by the time you're finished whipping it up, it's like 8, 9, 10 ounce or a little bit more, and that's because you filled it with air. Whenever I limit the amount, how long I whip my body butter, add less air to it and make it have more of a, not as thick as this, but a texture of where I can pour it into the jar. But when I say pour, I don't mean like really liquidy, just so I can pour it in it enough so I can pour it into the jar and cover it without having to pipe it in. That's like the sweet spot for me with body butters, and I can tell the difference of when it's on my skin, when I put it on my skin as well. Now that that's completed, we're going to go ahead and put it into our jars. So the jar that I have here is a 9 ounce upright jar. If you have a business, you can use this jar if you have a business or if it's personal use, but this is ideal for people with a business. You can get this 9 ounce jar, or you know, the 8 ounce jar work as well, and go ahead and scoop it in. You want to go ahead and kind of bang it or pat it at the bottom on your counter so that most of the body butter that's stuck at the top can get to the bottom, and you can add more to it. You can also do this with fluffy body butters. That way you can add more into the jar. Once you bang it on the table, it lets the air out and it creates space on top for you to add more to it. Thanks for watching, and go ahead and watch my next video after this, or one of my playlists. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Until next time.